to the Appalachian Podcast. I'm your host, and with me again is my trusty sidekick, Simon Winch. Good day, Governor.
All right, geezer. Hang on, you're doing the cultural appropriation. That's my job.
Well, every now and then I like to jump in the mix, but for you, it's more of a common occurrence. You know what I mean? But and perhaps I could reach down into Australia or New Zealand or Canada to hit one of your cousins. We're more like your bastard, like stepchild.
That's exactly. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there. Bastard stepchild. Well, thank you, Billy.
Well, it's good to see you again. You know, before every single show, I always ponder, how are we going to start this show out? How are we going to get the ball rolling? Because you never really know what to expect with some of the guests we have. We have a phenomenal guest here today with us. And yet every single time it never fails that Simon somehow is able to pull that out of me just in the pregame warm-up here. Because once again, and we know from our previous shows, all the things that Simon is connected to. By the way, Patreon subscribers, we just did a recent show last week where Simon tunes in with his expertise on the whole submersible that imploded above the Titanic. So patreon.com/getontap. Go check it out for subscribers. You know, good, crisp 30, 40-minute shows once a week. Kind of just dive into some topics, news topics and things like that. But either way, if you go back to all the shows, Simon, it's just, there's always these 1 or 2 degree separations. It doesn't matter who we're talking about. And here, once again, before we can even walk into my house and upstairs, Simon jumps out the car and reaches to greet himself to our guests and says, "I was in your front yard last week," and then starts naming off about 20 people that she knows. So
it all came together this morning, actually. I was just like, how on earth? How did this happen?
By the grace of God.
Absolutely.
By the grace of God.
So either Simon is extremely lucky or he is just a very methodical individual and has planned this show out to perfection using his clandestine skills to further impress our guests with his knowledge of... That's the only thing I can think of. Well, it can't be a coincidence. You were just drinking beer in a pub with Phil Collins last week, and now this week you're going through our guest's front yard. What's going on?
Well, I furtively, plant, and it's very submissive whilst you're sleeping. You might play some of that white noise, but behind the white noise is me actually submissively sending out a message, with regards to Mirta here. And it just seems to happen. So, you're part of it's almost a subliminal interrogation, and you're not aware of it.
I'm certainly not. I am blown away every single week because everybody's always coming to me asking me questions. Simon is the star of this show, which I'm perfectly fine with. Like, I never wanted to be the star of anything. I really like just being able to tell stories and share those stories with people because there's so much we miss. And bringing Simon on board, it's something new every week. It's like I've known the guy for 10 years, and I have never heard him talk about sitting down at a pub in England with Phil Collins, who's like a mega superstar from the 80s. Like, if that were me, that would almost lead out with every story I ever told when I met somebody. And I've known Simon for almost a decade now. He's been on this show, a solid member of it, for almost a year now, and I'm just, every episode I'm learning something else.
Well, when you get to my age and you've lived, I haven't been cornered in any way, shape, or form. Let's put it that way. I've done things very non-traditional, especially from where you consider I was brought up. So for me to bugger off, go tearing around the Caribbean for the best part of my formative years,
to die for.
Which not many people have actually do that. So. And I just did. I went, screw this. I don't want to be any part of this mainstream rubbish in London. I'm out. They started messing around with my bangers, and I wasn't going to let Brussels do it. So off I went, And that was amusing. It only took me a few years to figure that out. Why on earth did I leave England? Well, the best thing I can come up with was that the European Union was going to tell us what we could put and not put in our English bangers. How preposterous. How dare you? I'm out. At that point, have we handed our sovereignty to Brussels? Well, bugger that.
Well, their loss was certainly our gain. So, as you were talking earlier about making your way to Callaway, I think you've become an integral part of the community. I would say you assimilated very well. Actually, became more of a redneck than most people around here, I believe. So, I certainly appreciate it.
Possibly.
It really. It really does make the show better. As our last show with Chris Hodges, he was like, "Man, y'all just make such a dynamic pair." I was like, "Because there's just enough there to keep the connections going, but there's such, where I've been, maybe you haven't, some of those
Right.
places, so we kind of
We complement each other.
compliment each
rather
other
well, I
very
feel.
well, exactly, and the accent really helps quite a bit too. But if you haven't checked out that show, go back and listen to our last one. Chris Hodges, co-founder of Floyd Fest. Just what a phenomenal dude. The great stories. Once again, you'll hear how Simon and him start talking about some South African musician I've never heard of, and 90% of you have never heard of, and all of a sudden both of them are just connected at the hip over it. And great show.
Yeah, very strange coincidence.
Yeah.
But that's what life is. Life is
Mhm.
a series of coincidences.
And some of our other shows here in the past couple months. Look, if you're just tuning in today, I always tell everybody, go back and listen. We've had some phenomenal people on, like Colby Helms, just signed a big music contract. Nick Robertson tuned in to ESPN last night. About 9 o'clock, I was like, the Dodgers are playing. Let's see, what inning they're in. I want to try and see if Nick plays. Turned it on there. Boom, there he is. And I think he took him 9 pitches or 8 pitches to get 1, 2, 3 innings. So good to see him still doing good. We love keeping up with him.
His career has just it's off the he's cleared the town.
Absolutely. I need to get on here. I think we'll tell my wife it's want for my birthday. I want a Nick Robertson jersey and a Terrell Basham jersey. Another guy, they're getting ready to start training camp. It's going to be interesting to watch him. But go back and listen. Like, so many of these people have such great stories, and we've been so blessed to be able to sit down in front of them and let them tell kind of their stories. It's not your stereotypical, for a lot of these sports guys and music guys, people sit down in front of them, they ask them the same drawn out mundane questions over and over. We get to sit down and they open up and they tell us things that they normally wouldn't.
It's got nothing to do with pouring liquor down there.
Well, no, not that at all. It doesn't have much to do with it. And today we're blessed with another great guest. This is one that I've been excited about here for quite some time now. We finally got in touch with some of her people, and she comes highly recommended by Abe Naff, former baseball coach at Ferrum College, who has nothing but wonderful things to say about her. So when Abe suggested that we reach out, I said, well, that's all the endorsement I need. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me. I'm Mirta Martin, and I have the privilege to serve as the new president at Ferrum College.
That's a big congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. It's a magical place, and I am grateful to be there.
We want to explore your vision for the future, which, I mean, by the sounds of things, is now in good hands.
Thank you.
I think by exploring the future, we've got to delve back a little bit in the past. And, I'm not going to make you uncomfortable by any stretch, but I'd like to figure out maybe what went wrong there. But your vision, I think, from what little I have heard, is very positive. So I'm looking forward to hear what you have to, what your direction is for the college, what the direction is for, the local folks here in Franklin County. Perhaps, I think, whether they've been underserved by the college or they have underserved the college, when it's such a fantastic campus,
Yes.
and I think it's got an enormous amount to offer. And I've always wondered why it wasn't so supported by really the local community, because it really, it just staggers me. Now, whether that was down to price, whether there was some politics involved, I think maybe perhaps some of the grant systems didn't work in some of the local folks' to their advantage. I don't really know. So I'm looking to explore some of that and figure out where it kind of went a little bit off the rails and how you're bringing it back on track and what your vision is. So, yeah, the more you can expand on this, I think I'd be delighted to hear, because I have 2 daughters that, one is at Virginia West and one is at the CHA, very local.
Very local.
And, she's just coming into the 9th grade, which is like high school grade, yeah?
Yeah.
I've never understood what grade relates
it's
to
quite
high school,
different.
middle school. I mean, I was.
She's entering high school.
That's it.
Dangerous time.
I'm being very
Dangerous time.
careful. I'm watching closely, but she's in a great environment there at CHA, because we had some issues. Oh, no, I mean, I've lost faith in the public school, and that I mean, I'd like to know some of your thoughts on that, where this direction is has just gone off the cliff, quite frankly.
Well, I think first and foremost, I think that Ferrum College is a magical place. It really is. I have always sought throughout my life to lead a faith-based institution, an institution where the people live their values. They were just words on a page. And our motto is not self, but others. And I can tell you that without a doubt, every single individual at Ferrum College exemplifies with dignity that motto of not self, but others. They are there to pass it forward. They're there to give the next generation of leaders, whether you're the faculty, is to instill in them their passion, their wisdom, their excitement for their discipline. If it's the staff, is to hold them by the hand, to shepherd them, to be able to nurture them, yet challenge them as we prepare them to go into the world. I think you were talking about what went wrong or what have you. I don't know that it's what went wrong. I think every individual has a different personality, and that personality is woven into the fabric of an institution. Whether that's right or wrong, it is what it is. By culture and by being, I like to be around people, and I like people to be around me. My values, we were talking earlier, I grew up in Spain. I grew up in a convent in Spain for 8 years, and I went to school at another convent because in Spain, the girls go to school with nuns and the boys with friars. So very, very religious. And
my first girlfriend came from a convent school, but I won't say any more than that.
Yeah, just leave it at that. Just leave it at that. Well, I will tell you, I love that place because... and perhaps that's one of the reasons that I love Ferrum College so much, is because in those nuns, in that convent, in that beautiful place, I saw the true meaning of humility. I saw the true meaning of compassion. I saw the true meaning of not self but others. And here I am living it right now. I have the privilege to live it at Ferrum College. We are the College of Opportunity of Virginia. 110 years ago, our founding mothers. Now, how often do you speak about foremothers or founding mothers? Always about forefathers.
Absolutely.
But not founding mothers.
This is the first time I've heard someone use that expression.
Right? So our founding mothers envision a college of opportunity in this region. As a matter of fact, if you read the founding documents, it says it costs $150 to come to Ferrum College. And within it, it said that they would tell the students, if you can afford to pay the $150, don't come. Leave the spot for someone who cannot afford it. And so at a time when the United States was divided, at a time when we were going up and down through the recession, when we were going through World War II, Ferrum College was the beacon of hope for the people of this region. And invariably, as I walk and I talk and I drive and I travel and I visit with alumni, whether it was last year's or 60 years ago, I kid with them because I say to them, I'm going to change our motto from not self but others to, were it not from Ferrum College, I wouldn't be where I am today. Because invariably, that's what they say. Were it not for Ferrum College, I wouldn't be where I am today. And that's the opportunity that college has given. I want the community in the college because at the end of the day, faith and family is how I live my life. And they're not words written on a page. And faith and family means that you're family. And if you're family, I want you home. And home is Ferrum College. And so I want the community at home because what's good for Ferrum College is good for the community. What's good for the community is good for Ferrum College. And at the end of the day, we are family. And so family need to come home. Our alumni, as I go around to visit with them, I say to them, come home. You need to come home. And by the way, October 21st is homecoming. Come home. And it doesn't mean that you need to have come to Ferrum College or graduated from Ferrum College. If you're part of this community, you're family. come home to Ferrum College. And so we've brought back a lot of programs to invite the family back home to Ferrum College. And one of the reasons, very candidly, that I'd love to be here with you today is to spread that word, to say to people, come home to Ferrum College. We have started our Friday fish fry. Okay. And just,
both of us just perked right on up.
I normally do a fish fry on a Friday.
Well, it's to die for.
Yeah.
It's to die for. Now, not this Friday because it's July the 4th. It's the one Friday that we're closed. But next Friday, we've opened the college on every Friday night because we want the community there. And it's a way to see your neighbor. It's a way to walk up and down the beautiful gardens, the beautiful quad that we have at the college. Come the fall, you'll have the backdrop of the incredible Blue Ridge Mountains. What an incredible place.
What more can you ask for?
Yeah, come on. In the spring, did you know that we have the only lake in a college in Virginia and that lake is stocked with trout? So in the spring, the students put trout, yes. And we had family members, we had little kids like Claire come over with her little fishing pole with Daddy to go ahead and pull up that piece of trout. And we had grills and smokers so that you could cut it up and then eat it. And it's set up so that we want Franklin County, we want our neighbors to come home to Ferrum College. So it's not what went wrong. I think it's just different personalities. Some people feel that the college is for students, and that's not wrong or right. It's for them. For me, your family. Now that we know each other, your family, and I'm the worst nightmare because I'm going to make sure that you come home to Ferrum College. And that goes for you too, because I've already told Claire that she had best come home.
Oh, absolutely. And Ferrum's such an integral part, of the community, and it always has been. And for me, especially the time period I grew up, back in the early 90s, of course, Ferrum baseball was an absolute powerhouse. I know we've talked about this on the show quite a bit. You've had Coach Neff on a couple of times.
Yes.
You're talking about future Hall of Famer and Billy Wagner, Eric Owens. You also had Chris Warren, masterful football player at the time.
Absolutely.
NCAA had to make a rule. So, when you think, I think of Hank Norton, I think of all that greatness. I think of the Ferrum Folklife Festival, which has been such a huge part of my childhood,
by
going
the way,
there every
50th
year.
year anniversary this year, so y'all best come.
Oh yeah, I missed last year.
Yeah, you do.
I can't think why.
October 26th, fourth Friday in October. It's our 50th anniversary.
I'm actually looking forward to getting the people from the Blue Ridge Institute to come on the show previously to that being its 50th year. I'd love to sit down and talk with those folks. And, it's an integral part of our community, and I think we all want to see it succeed. We don't want to see the campus close down or go in disrepair or anything, depending on how the winds are shifting. So we want local people to stick around. We want to encourage some of the people that aren't local that want to come, that have the brightest minds and the most to offer. We want to entice them to come to this area.
Absolutely.
That's part about building Franklin County. It's part of us building Rocky Mountain, making this entire area enticing.
Well, it's an asset to Franklin County, and I think in many respects it's been overlooked as an asset. And that doesn't do Ferrum College any good whatsoever. And to have a college of that stature on your doorstep, and I think some of the programs that you do run there have got great reputations nationally.
And they are unique in many ways. For example, we have one of the oldest environmental sciences program in the United States. We have the only geotourism program in Virginia. Because we were founded, obviously, 110 years ago at a time when women normally didn't go to college. Obviously, our education department is to die for, as is our nursing department. Our business department, the graduates from business and that have accounting and marketing are highly, highly sought after. So we can go on and on and on. We've got the only master's in athletic coaching in the state. So for all of the coaches that are out there, for the junior coaches that are looking to become head coaches, this is a program that is online that is it's incredible. Or, the fact that, again, we have an MED, so you can continue your education, which is a requirement in Virginia for you to have a master's if you go through uh, your teacher education program.
Mhm.
We just have, and of course, we have a farm so that the students get hands-on experience, whether it's through the hydroponics, which is the way of the future, or whether it's the animal husbandry. So we're teaching individuals how to run their farms as a business. And of course, when our students graduate, they go on to become lawyers or medical doctors, or they go on to become veterinary. That's an incredible opportunity. Sometimes I went to visit. So one of the things we haven't done well, you were talking about we haven't done well, mea culpa, since it's now, the buck stops with me. We haven't talked about Ferrum College. We haven't spread the word of all that is good and incredible about this institution. And so when I arrived at Ferrum College in January, I hit the road recruiting. And it was a beautiful thing because I got to see high school students. And of course, I think for me, the funny thing, or it wasn't funny, but was to see the faces of the principals or the teachers. Is like, president of the college is here recruiting? Yes, absolutely. Because I believe in this college and I want to spread the word. And very candidly, we didn't have the personnel to be able to spread the word. And to me, that was critical. And the sad part about it is that the students right here in our backyard didn't know about the jewel that is Ferrum College. We're a city unto ourselves. We've got 800 acres of beautiful trails. We've got a discourse. We've got the lake. Even, and kids say, well, we don't want to be at the doorstep of our parents. We're a city unto ourselves. Mom and dad are not going to be there every single day. So, but with the education that we provide, with only 10, 12 students max to a class, you become part of the family. Those faculty love those students and take them under the wing. And what we do that is unique is the experiential experiences, opportunities that faculty provide the students, not just about the pedagogy, right? It's not about just giving you info and here it is and you're going to read it and I'm going to talk to you and I'm going to, just launch it at you. It's going to be, okay, here's the pedagogy, but now let's roll up our sleeves and go to work and let's do what I just taught you in the classroom. We've got a faculty member that just came back from a really miserable place that we send our students. We really send them to miserable places. Nobody ever wants to go there. Kind of like where you grew up.
Come on then.
Just come on where you grew up. So they spend 3 weeks on the beaches of Costa Rica.
My good friend actually lives there on the Pacific side.
And so this is a class about climate discrimination. And so she took her class to study the impact of climate change on turtle hatchings. So not just the number of eggs, but the size of those turtle hatchings, because what they find is, obviously, as you can imagine, as they get smaller and smaller, they become more accessible to predators, which means they can't get to the sea, which means that the population declines, which means that they go on the extinct list. You can talk about it all you want. You can show pictures all the ground, but to put your foot in the ground and to see those seagulls come down to lift up one of those sea turtlings and understand the impact of the ecosystem, it's totally different. And that's what Ferrum College does. It's not just about a hooty-dooty type of education. We provide a second to none rigorous education, but then we go ahead and accompany it with the real life skills that employers said that is missing in this generation.
How refreshing.
We get them ready to be part of the economic engine of the county, of the state, of the nation, because we give them skills to be successful. That's what we do. Not just
a piece of paper.
No.
And see, it's interesting you said that, and I'm glad you touched on something, through what you were saying just now. And there are a lot of people out there right now who have certain businesses where a lot of times they'll turn away a college applicant. They'll turn away somebody with a college degree because in their eyes it's like, look, you're behind 4 years. I'd rather take this person who's got a little bit of experience doing this and knowing, maybe some of those jobs aren't necessarily degree specific, but you're not always going to get a job in your degree. So a lot of times there might not be a job in your degree, like philosophy. There's really not a job out there other than continuing on your education. But if you want to go apply for a certain job, and you have that degree, they might, you know what I mean? So, but you said something really interesting. You were talking about having students there that are kind of learning how to farm and learning how to farm as a business. And then those students also go on to be doctors and lawyers. And maybe that's, a niche for Ferrum right there is come here, learn how to be a good human being while you further your education. And from here, take those skills with you on to be a bigger and better, more successful person. But you have those abilities, because if you know how to grow things and you know how to farm and you know what it is to take care of an animal, then you're going to be a much better doctor. You're going to be a much better, because you actually have something out there worth fighting for. If you're just living in a cubicle somewhere in a concrete jungle and all your food is delivered to you or you pick up at Whole Foods, you really can't appreciate what all goes into it. And you might just slowly deteriorate your overall mindset.
That was very philosophical of you, Billy.
Hey, look.
But you're absolutely right.
It took 7 years of college and about $90,000 for me to come up with that right there. But finally something came out worthwhile, I guess.
Whoop, whoop.
But that you're right on point. I say to the kids when I speak with them, because I go recruiting myself out into the high schools, and I've told the coaches and I've told the admissions department, whenever we have a family on campus, I want to speak to that family, because if we're going to say to them we're family, then they need to know that I'm there. And I look at the parents and I say, when you drop your child off at my doorstep, they become my child. And then I look at the kid and I'm looking at you and I say, and when they drop you off, I become your worst nightmare, because my job is to make sure that you succeed. I don't want people to come to Ferrum College. And I repeat that over and over. I don't want anyone to come to Ferrum College. I want students to graduate from Ferrum College. For me, it's a moral imperative that they come and they graduate. And as they graduate, when we put them out into the community, when we put them out in society as men and women with strong character and strong values, then I've done my job.
That
our
reflects
faculty
very
have
well
done
on
our
Ferrum.
job. Well, it's who we are. It's we have to put out there men and women of very strong values, of very strong principles, because that's what the world needs today. And they need to be able to stand up for those values and stand up for those principles. And that's critical. One of the reasons that, as you all know, 2 months ago, we affirmed our commitment to those forward-thinking women of Ferrum College by affirming our heritage and our values, and launched the Panther Promise, an opportunity to provide free tuition to all qualifying Virginia residents. Just like those women who said, if you can come, don't come. Let the space for somebody who cannot come. Now, we want everybody to come, but for those who are thinking like me, I was the poorest of the poor. I didn't even speak English, as we were speaking earlier on when I came to the United States. And my grandmother always said, you're going to go to college. Well, that's wonderful that you have somebody encouraging you, but you don't have enough food on the table. And you're working every single possible hour. You're thinking, how in God's green earth am I going to go to college? Regrettably, today, many, 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 many American families are having to make those decisions, and many students are on those crossroads. And if you have ability, if you have intellect, if you have drive, if you have persistence, if you want to go to college and don't think you can afford it, come to Ferrum College, because we're going to make it possible for you to get that education with the skills of the job that do not yet exist, so that you can be a successful leader in the 21st century with character, with skills, with principles, with values.
That is a challenge. And I'll play devil's advocate just for a little bit, if I may.
Please.
A lot of what appears to be going on in the college environment, I'm not saying this is Ferrum at all, but a lot of what appears to be going on is that everyone has to go to college, and that isn't necessarily the case. I think some technical colleges, I think Some people just need to get into the work environment. But the temptation has been for a lot of pressure for everyone to think that you have to go to college. And that puts a lot of folks, a lot of parents, in some positions. And when you're talking some of the costs involved, we've touched on it on many podcasts
It's the opportunity cost.
Well, but is it a form of debt slavery? And I'm very cautious about how we approach that, because in certain situations it appears to be. Now, I think I think the way that you've expressed, if what you've just said, I think has been very refreshing. Here's another thought.
So let me stop you for that. So not everyone is cut out to go to college or needs to go to college at age 17 or 18. It's not. We all mature at different stages. I do believe that everyone needs to obtain a post-secondary education. Now, that may be in the form of a certificate, that may be in the form of an apprenticeship, that may be in the form of a 2-year degree, that may be in the form of a certificate, that may be a 4-year degree. But there's various forms, but for you to be able to advance, especially in this world that is so driven by technology, the reality is you're going to have to get a post-secondary something, okay? And so what we're trying to do at Ferrum College is to create what we're calling stackable credentials. So humor me. Let's say that you are going to go as an apprentice to be an electrician. Okay, so you're taking all of these courses and they're skills based, right? Why shouldn't those courses provide you an on-ramp to an education?
Mm-hmm.
They should, because those are life skills. The skills as you served, thank you for serving our country. The skills that you served, that you brought over. They're second to none. The military has technology that we cannot even think about. My daughter is working with a company that works with the military, and she's the lead artificial intelligence engineer, and of course she's double, triple, quadruple classified, but the little snippets that she talks about might as well be Swahili.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the advances of the military, what they declassify that we think is Star Wars type thing. I saw something that
they're already 10 years ahead of that.
Exactly. It's like, oh, that was declassified 10 years ago, But yet we take our men and women of the military, for example, and we say, oh, well, yeah, you were an IT specialist, but, we're going to go ahead and put you into an IT class and start you 10 years behind. And you're looking at it as like, what the heck is this? Because you're so far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So academia has to flip. Academia has to recognize those skills. And I think at Ferrum College, that's what we do, and we do that very well. Again, it's a paradigm shift. It's also a paradigm shift from the standpoint of the parents, and you talked about the parents. For whatever reason, there are some parents who would be embarrassed by saying, my son or my daughter works in construction, or is a plumber, is a roofer, it's electrician. Well, guess what? They are making more money
than
the PhDs.
They have the opportunity to be their own entrepreneur.
That's exactly right. So we take them and we give them that entrepreneurship learning so that they look at their trades as an opportunity to create their own business. And that's how this country is fueled. I think one of the beautiful things about America is that it's fueled by American creativity and ingenuity. It's what things that we cannot imagine, someone is imagining it, and it's a land of opportunity in the world, as a beacon of hope, as a beacon of freedom, as a beacon where if you work hard, you can go ahead and achieve the moon. I mean, a girl who on her hands and knees is cleaning bathrooms and doesn't speak English can become president of a college. We can achieve everything we want here in the United States with hard work, with persistence, with sacrifice. And at Ferrum College, we recognize those traits. Our faculty are to die for. These men and women, you've got to meet them. I mean, they just bleed passionately what they are teaching. Our staff, our coaches, they're not just kids. They're their own children. They want to see them succeed. One, because with them they carry part of themselves, but also because we all recognize, we all recognize that we are at a crossroads in society and that we have to churn out individuals who have values, who have principles, who have a backbone,
Critical thinkers.
who have critical thinking skills, who can analyze and synthesize, who can articulate a vision so that we can move our country forward. And these are the skills, again, that's our calling card. We're a small boutique school. We're small enough for each student. It's just that it's a human being with strengths and weaknesses, not a number.
Great. Love it.
That's what makes us unique. We're going to be launching this fall, and you'll have to bring some of the faculty here, but I'm very excited because the faculty really are incredible at Ferrum College. They turn on a mind. They are all about opportunity. It's all about a smile in their face. So I came to them, and, the Secretary of Labor of the Commonwealth, Brian Slater, is a Ferrum College alum. And so he was talking about the disconnect between higher ed and industry, how what you were saying, we're putting them out and they really have a degree that doesn't have a skill set. And I said, well, yeah, some, but not at Ferrum College. Because with the smallness of our classrooms and the ability of our faculty to teach them skills, okay, then they leave with that industry-ready skill. So when I arrived at Ferrum College, I asked the faculty that what I wanted to do was for them to look within their curricula, within their courses, and see what industry skills they were teaching that nobody knew anything about. So they have. 4 months later, there's 150 industry skills that you don't know about that is within that major. So for example, let's say that you're taking a management course. You can think that, okay, so if you look at my transcript and you see management on it, what do you think I learned?
Who knows?
Exactly.
It's a mystery.
Exactly, because everybody is different.
Yeah.
You could discern that, well, maybe you learn a little bit about dealing with people, right? Hopefully they taught you a little bit about budgets.
Logistics of business.
A little bit of the business and so on and so forth. But what you may not know is that at Ferrum College, if you do that, you also get the opportunity to have a Office 365 certification, or a Cisco certification,
right,
or a cybersecurity certification, or if you take, for example, an agricultural course, that you're able to sit for an OSHA certification, or if you take a ceramics course, that you get a welding certificate. Well, now all of a sudden, we're speaking the language of industry, not the language of academia, and that creates a competitive advantage for our students and creates a pipeline for you as an employer, because you know the industry-ready skills that you're looking for, that we're telling you because we're now giving them these certificates.
You're filling the gap.
It's crazy when you were speaking right there, you'd mentioned that a lot of people might have preconceived notions about people that might be an electrician or plumber or construction worker. And I sat there and think, and, one of our great friends of the show, Amos Denton, shout out to Blackwater Building and Custom Woodwork. And, Amos was homeschooled, dropped out essentially when he was 15 years old. And now at this point in time is probably one of my most successful friends, manages and owns hundreds and hundreds of acres of land. And honestly not being hyperbolic, he's probably like a Michelangelo of this generation when it comes to like his vision, when it comes to woodworking and things to that degree. Like somebody, my stepdad, master electrician and plumber, never went to college, but has beach houses and airplanes and things like that. Like,
and it's a skill. Yeah, it's a skill,
and it's all about how much you put into it.
That's
and
right.
You could do the same thing. Going to school, not going to school. If you have drive, then you're going to figure it out. And the thing about, for somebody like Amos, so he makes it his way, but he has a beautiful little daughter, and probably at some point in time, maybe he's going to want to hope she actually does go to school. And, as Simon kind of mentioned earlier, I think there is a lot of concerned with people about sending their kids to college these days, given the current state we find ourselves in. And I know when you'd mentioned debt slavery a little bit earlier, I think one thing that we can kind of differentiate here is Ferrum is a private university, not a public school. So a lot of the public schools are getting those federal loans a whole lot easier than the private ones are, which is why they're more of a diploma or a degree mill, and they don't really have the time and effort. Like you said, 12 students per class. You have time for one-on-one instruction.
That's right.
So,
we will never be a diploma mill. I mean, that again, I go back to our calling card is being that small boutique school where we take that individual that enters, as our tagline says, with promise. It's that raw diamond and lives with purpose. And that's what we churn. And yes, I do believe that as the world evolves, you will have a need for that 4-year degree, because I'll tell you why. So the mines, let's talk about mining. And that was something, I came from a mining state, and the challenge with taking those kids was because their parents said, I don't have a college education. I don't even have a high school degree. And I put food on the table, and we've had a good life. And so now with your high school degree, you can be a superintendent in the mines. Yes, that's true today, but not in 10 years. In 10 years or even less than that, that student is going to have some sort of college degree, maybe a 2-year degree, perhaps a 4, but certainly a college degree, because they're not going to be going into the mine. They're going to be creating, designing, coding, fixing the robot that's going to go into the mine. That requires a 4-year degree. The other thing is, yes, unless you have your own business, and even at that, you need some skills to do your bookkeeping, to do your marketing, etc. The reality is that when those employers are getting ready to promote someone, they say, well, yeah, you've had the skills, but you don't have the diploma. You got to get the diploma. And
well, I've had continued. I mean, I'm trying to think when I got out of what I was doing down in the Caribbean, and then got into offshore oil and gas. From that point on, at 45, I continued, Billy. I know what you're going to do in a minute. I had to continue with a lot of education.
Yes.
Particularly with robotics.
Yes.
Networking, and
coding.
It got to a point where with one particular company I worked for, you had to get into the coding.
Yes.
So that you could manipulate certain things. But less so with the more advanced company I got into with Schilling Robotics, and that was pretty cool. And that required constant education. You were always looking to improve upon your skill set. So, and that was throughout a career.
That's right.
So don't think that just because you've got your 4-year,
no, it's continuous improvement.
It's you are going to be put, because you cannot keep up with the pace of technology. You just can't do it.
Else.
As soon as you go out to the store and buy the latest, greatest laptop, whatever it is,
the next day it's gone.
The next day it's been upgraded and something's already taken its place, and you think, well, I just spent top dollar for this, and it's now obsolete.
Yes. One generation old, and it's only been one day.
Crazy.
And that's the thing that I went to school as an undergraduate traditionally, but then I was married at 20 and went back to school because my grandmother said in America, an education is what's going to open the way, and you don't say no to your grandmother. You say, "Ma'am, yes, ma'am," and you go on.
Quite right too.
And I was a non-traditional student working 2 jobs, and then my daughter was born, and then I graduated. And my grandmother said, "And you're going to continue, because in America, that piece of paper opens doors, and you don't say no to your grandmother. You say, 'Ma'am, yes, ma'am.'" And then my son was born, and I can tell you that had it not been for a very supportive husband who stayed at home in the evenings, because, as my children now like to say, I went to school when dinosaurs roamed the earth, because there were no computers. Right. You actually had to go to school, and you actually had to go to the library. God forbid you had to touch a book, but you had to, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
And so It is not.
You
It is.
just
Got me.
you just aged him out.
I just got aged.
But it is very difficult to go to school as a non-traditional student.
Yeah.
And so I say to students, if you have the opportunity to go to school because you know that that's the pathway, do it now when you can, when you have a support system, a support mechanism to be able to do it. And again, that's why at Ferrum College, we have launched this Panther Promise, because we know that the generation of the future is going to need a degree. They're going to. And so
And that's
do
just
it
the
now.
start.
That's just the beginning.
You know, because I think
Absolutely.
once you've got into that level of education where you're getting career specific education and qualifications, if you think that that's the end, you're mistaken, because
No,
it's the
it's
very
only the
beginning.
beginning.
It's the very
It's
beginning.
exactly right. But it provides you, though, a work ethic. It provides you the ability to multitask. It provides you especially at Ferrum College with a broad liberal arts curriculum. It affords you the opportunity to analyze, to synthesize, to write strong, well-constructed sentences that are really disappearing from the English language.
The grammar coming out of
Yeah.
certain colleges and higher education, quite frankly, is atrocious.
And we've got that ability to ensure that our students write those strong, well-constructed sentences, and that they have social skills. About 90% of our population lives on campus. So, and I live on campus. I eat at the caf on purpose so that as the students come in, they have to see my face. I see them, and we create a relationship. I walk the campus. I go to their sports and so on and so forth. We have a signal that if I am home, the light on the porch is on, and that's an invitation for them to stop by to tell me what I don't want to hear. So I take them to give me a hug, to just whatever. And so, and my business card, it has my personal cell and my personal email, not president but Mirta Martin at ferrum.edu. And I give that to the students. I give that to the parents, because you both know that life doesn't happen between 9 and 5. It happens at 3 a.m. in the morning. And as a parent, you need to know that somebody's there who's going to look after your child, because while those students are young adults, they're always going to be our kids.
Absolutely.
And the kids need to know that there's somebody there that they can go to with a problem, that, hey, I need help. And that's really, 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 really important for me. It's important to the faculty. It's important to the staff. You walk down the campus on any one day and you'll see some of the community members walking their dogs, or the faculty or the staff that are walking, that are jogging. I said to the community, bring your kids here. This is a place where you can just, go bike riding. And the other day I had a faculty member that brought her 2 children onto the campus, one of them with the training wheels. It was like, yes, they're here. This is what it's supposed to be. It shouldn't be empty, and it's not. We're not a sleepy little college. Like, we have summer camps throughout the summer. Last week we had 600 kids on the college campus. And you talk about panic. So at 5:04 in the morning, we lost power with 600 kids on campus. Okay. And I'm hyperventilating. And they had the greatest time, because guess what they did?
Campfire.
I know it was raining. Remember, it was the day of the monsoon.
Oh, dear.
They got to play in the rain, and they thought it was the greatest thing, because mom and dad won't let me play in the game, but in the rain, but we did. And they had a
cornflakes and warm milk.
Yeah. I don't know that the chaperones liked it all that much, but the kids had a blast. But
Great.
That's what should be on that campus. It should be from K through 12. It should be beyond. It should be you bringing your children. It should be you walking the campus. It should be Franklin County. We are the College of Franklin County. We're the only college here. And so we need the help of this county at this time in our history. The pandemic.
We need to support you. This is abundantly clear.
Well, like I'd mentioned earlier about somebody like Amos. Now, Amos is people like him, my stepdad. They really are an anomaly. They're a fraction of the population. But even still, somebody like him, he's gonna want to send his daughter somewhere, and in his mind, he's gonna say, well, she wants to be a veterinarian, at least not for the first couple of years. Why don't I send her to Ferrum where she's close by? She's got a support cast. She's going to get a good education there. And she's going to be, and our money that we're going to be spending on that education is going to be supporting people that we hang out with, the people that we'll see up there at Chaos Mountain
Well, you're
Brewery.
supporting the community,
Exactly.
most
Absolutely.
importantly.
Exactly.
It's exactly right. And the thing about it is, if your child goes to Ferrum College, you stay in the county. You spend your dollars in the county because this is where they are.
This is what we've been saying for months.
Just the return on the investment, keep it in the county. Your kid plays a sport. Send the kid to Ferrum College because it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
When the kid is in another county, what happens? You go to support them. Well, you're out there. Where do you spend your money? In the other county instead of here. Keep them here. There is a widespread misconception that for you to get into medical school, you have to go to a big school that has a medical school, or that if you want to get into veterinary school, you have to go to a big school that has a veterinary school. Actually not. What happens in those schools, they have classes of 200-300 students, and they say, look to your right, look to your left. 2 of you are not going to be here because that's a weed out school. At Ferrum College, we say, look to your right, look to your left. All 3 of you are going to be here, and we're going to ensure that you are. Our students outperform the generalized population because with 7, 10, 12 students to a class, if you don't understand something, that faculty is going to plug that hole. And when you sit for that standardized test, you're going to outperform the population at large. And in fact, a point of pride for Ferrum College, you're talking about veterinary school, 100% of the students who apply to med school, to veterinary school, to law school, get in. Okay, most institutions cannot say that, but we can. Our sciences are to die for. Our biology, our chemistry are to die for. It just, again, the curriculum that we provide is second to none, and we are a hidden jewel. I always want Ferrum College to be a jewel, but not hidden. We can't be hidden. So we need the people in this community to send their children to Ferrum College so that, the pandemic, very candidly, not unlike what has happened throughout the United States, has hurt us. We are not in enrollment where we need to be. Now, don't misunderstand me. We're alive and well. We're open for business. We're not going anywhere. But we need the help of the community to spread the word. Send your child. Talk to a neighbor about sending their child there. Send them to a camp. Let them play a sport. Come and visit. Come to the Blue Ridge Mountain and Museum to experience it. Come to a baseball game. Come to a softball. Come to a sport. Come to a music performance. Our theater and music are to die. We've got faculty that Emily Blankenship Tucker just returned, and she was touring in New York City. Now, how many faculty in anywhere do you know that tour in New York City? Well, our faculty do, and that's the type of incredible energy and incredible love that you have at Ferrum College. It's those type of individuals who they're driven by a passion and by an art. It's not a job. It's not a paycheck. It's a passion for the art, and they want to pass it forward to these kids. And that's why the kids have to come here.
It's a great message. Let me. This one, because this applies to me, but I'm sure it's a common trait where there's a lot of kids who've come out of Franklin County High School. Now, some have either gone directly to the big colleges, Radford, Tech, William and Mary, whatever they've gone. Others have gone to Virginia Western because that's the financially prudent thing to do to get through the first 2 years of what I call the BS element of college. Okay, it is what it is, but you have to do those elements. Why not do it at minimal cost?
That's right.
so that then you can spend your 2 final years of a 4-year degree in a college of your choice.
Hmm.
So I'm in that situation. My eldest daughter is in Western Virginia Western, and she has struggled with calculus, as everybody does.
Yes, it does.
But anyway, she's and what would be your plan? There's a twofold question here, so I'll hit you. Remember this one, and then we'll go straight into the next one. How would you attract those folks that have done their 2 years and that can apply that associate degree, and you get them back into Ferrum, because that's the message I'm.
They should come home to Ferrum College. That's the message. So I've actually, I have been speaking with the presidents, with both presidents, both at Virginia Western and at Patrick and Henry Community College.
Good. I'm glad you're a step ahead of me. I knew you would be.
Because we have to create an on-ramp for education from them to us. So we are getting ready. We are in the process of drafting what is called a program-to-program articulation agreement. And that is if the community college student takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 courses at a community college, those courses transfer uniquely into
because
Ferrum.
Some of them don't.
But at Ferrum, they do. And if you have an associate's degree that has been conferred, okay, not 1 credit short, you have to have graduated.
Yep.
Okay, we take that and transfer it lock, stock, and barrel into Ferrum College, and we offer you the Ferrum Promise. And the Ferrum Promise is when you come to Ferrum College as a graduate of a community college with an associate's degree, you will graduate in 2 years. And if you don't, because whatever course did not transfer, it's on us. You don't pay.
Say that one more time.
Okay. So if you transfer with an associate's degree, an earned degree from a community college, and you come to us, we guarantee that you will graduate in 2 years. And if you don't, that is on us.
I hope everyone's listening to that.
That is the Ferrum.
That's a good promise.
And that, together with the Panther Promise, which for your daughter, she's a Virginia resident.
Mm-hmm.
If she qualifies, it's free tuition. You have a second to none education at an affordable price. That is our commitment. That is why we affirmed our roots as the College of Opportunity of Virginia.
Here's part 2. Now, I think you've already answered it, but just for the sake of part 2, my youngest daughter is going to Christian Heritage Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great deal out there from Liberty
Mm-hmm.
that, when she graduates from Christian Heritage, they've offered her a 50% off deal
Mm-hmm.
to go to Liberty.
Okay.
And that sounds very tempting.
That's passive, isn't it, though?
Doesn't it?
And what's the bottom line? What you pay out of pocket?
I've got no idea.
Okay. You
I'm
need to
sure
find
it's
that
a
out.
fortune.
Because most of our students, again, as if you are a qualifying Virginia student resident and you qualify for the Panther Promise, okay, most of our students are going and they live on campus. Okay, you're going to have an out-of-pocket expenditure, worst case scenario, somewhere between $0 and maybe $5,000-$10,000. Okay, we are the most affordable college in Virginia, hands down. Now, they may tell you that they're going to give you a $60,000 scholarship. And then when you look at it is, but I still have to pay $23,000.
You still have to pay $40,000 for it.
And so, and
give me that statement again. When you have statements like this, they're worth repeating. So please, I give it all our guests the same thing. When they drop a clanger or they say something that the people need to listen to, and sometimes you've got to say it twice.
Well, and I appreciate that, but oftentimes we as parents get lost in what is told to us, and we fail to see the proverbial forest because of the tree. So oftentimes institutions are going to say, oh, we're going to give you a $60,000 scholarship. Oh, yeah. I'm going to send my child because they gave her a $60,000 scholarship and this other college only gave her a $40,000 scholarship. And then when you look at what you have to pay,
look at the bottom line.
look at the bottom line. And that's what I say to parents. It's, yes, that's a great scholarship. The fact that an institution is giving your daughter a 50% scholarship, that's great. And that means that they want her, and that speaks volumes for your daughter. But whether...
Well, no, this is to every graduating student from Christian Academy.
So
Christian Heritage.
And that's great that they're doing that.
It looks like a good deal, but Liberty, we know,
that looks
very
good.
expensive.
But then what is the out-of-pocket expense?
Mm-hmm.
And at Ferrum College, depending on who you are, it's going to be somewhere between $0 and the maximum is going to be about $10,000, $12,000. Well, that's manageable.
Yeah.
And the $10,000, $12,000, you can go ahead and get a loan and you can space it out and it's manageable. So worst case scenario.
That's not putting you into debt slavery by any stretch.
By any stretch.
It's not 150 grand for a medical degree.
No, it is. And I think that's
at a minimum.
That is really important for parents, that they need to get away from my child received X number of dollars for scholarship. What they need to look at and ask is, what do I need to pay? What, at the end of the day, after everything that you've given me, after all the loans, after all the Pell Grants, if you get them, after all the scholarship, what is it that I need to write a check to get my daughter in that school? And what oftentimes you'll find is that even though you may be getting less scholarship, you're paying less. For us at Ferrum, as I said, we are the most affordable college in Virginia. I challenge anybody. I had this discussion with a parent the other day that was sending their child to a public large school, and they were saying, well, it's public and I'm going to get all of these Virginia things and so on and so forth. And I said, well, that's great. And I said, and how much are you going to be paying out of pocket? And he said, $26,000 per year as an in-state student. As an in-state student in a public college. And we did the math, and this young man would have paid at Ferrum $7,000, little bit, about $69,000, $7,000. Let's round it up. Again, you've got an intimate experience surrounded by people who become lifelong friends. Those faculty become mothers, brothers, sisters, brothers, mentors to these kids. They become part of their lives. That's the experience you're going to get at a Ferrum College and not at an institution that has 20, 30, 40, 50,000 students.
That's incredibly enlightening. Because,
and we have been at Christian Academy already to do dual enrollment courses. So your daughter has to come to us. And yes, we're going out into the communities and saying, we can do this because we've got resources to die for. And why not go ahead and share them with these kids who are able to do college work at an early age, and they come to school with these college credits and thereby reducing even further the debt and time in school.
Yeah. Love it. I mean, because we've got to respect that Franklin County and this particular area, is Title I. The average salaries around here certainly are on the lower side.
Absolutely.
I think I've had that number. I know in the town of Rocky Mount, the average salary was an abysmal $25,000 a year. So when you spread that across the county, it goes up a little, but it's certainly a lower salary.
It is.
Title I has been very good for them in the public school system. I just think the public school system has failed them recently with the direction that they have gone in. But this is very, very refreshing to hear your side of how this is going to work and how positive you are.
Well, I believe, I've told the people I didn't come to Ferrum College to ensure that it survived. Because it doesn't need to be surviving.
No, it needs to thrive.
It needs to thrive. And that's exactly what I've told them. I didn't come here to make it survive. I came here to ensure that it thrives because it has it has the rightful place in society to ensure that it is a destination of choice for students who want a superb second to none education that is delivered by incredible, loving, gifted faculty, dedicated staff in a familial environment where these students really and truly, as every single alumni says, they go out into the world to make a difference. And were it not for Ferrum College, they wouldn't be where they are today. They wouldn't be making the impact where they are today. They wouldn't be living the life of consequence and impact on humanity and on their fellow man that they're making today. That is ultimately our goal, and that's what we're very grateful that we're able to do. I'm very proud that we're able to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think if I was brought up here, from from a young age, going back all those decades. Thank you very much, Billy. I would definitely have wanted to go to Ferrum College because.
So you can still come. Come on over.
I'll be coming. Don't you worry.
Come on over. Come on over.
I'm going to be wandering over. I'll certainly be there in October, and I'll be there before then too.
Be careful what you wish for. I don't know if
come on over.
Be like Rodney Dangerfield in that movie Back to School.
No, come on over. We welcome everybody. We want everyone to come home. You know, we've been working, and I would be remiss, we've been working with Franklin County and the Board of Supervisors under the leadership of Mr. Tatum to put in the budget a sum of money that would be destined for Franklin County residents as an additional scholarship to keep them here. Again, he realizes that it is an investment into the county, because sometimes we may lose students for $1,000 to somewhere else for whatever reason it may be. And what we found is that with that additional scholarship, they stay home. If they stay home, that means that money stays home. That means mom and daddy stay home. That means grandmother stays home. That means that siblings stay home. That means that everything stays
The money
here.
circulates locally.
Exactly.
And that's a good thing for everyone.
And just as importantly, they do not tend to leave and not come back. They stay to grow the local economy, to become doctors, to become veterinarian, to become lawyers, to become farmers right here in Franklin County, which is where we need them. I think one of the things that academics does really well, regrettably, is we educate. We are in the export business. We educate and then we ship them out. At Ferrum College, we want to educate, we want to import talent, and we want to keep them right here in Franklin County so that it's part of the economic engine of this county and of this part of the state, of this region. And again, that's something that we do really, really well. Those ties that we form are long-lasting, last for a lifetime. And they keep calling you to come back home. And for us, back home is at Ferrum College. So the message is come home. Come home to Ferrum College.
I mean, Billy was brought up here, and, his perspective is going to be slightly different. I chose to be here.
Yeah, likewise. This is
and I'd like my kids to have that same thing.
Well,
to want to be here.
Well, and the quality of life, the beauty of the
superb.
hills, the beauty of the hills, the kindness of the people, the welcoming nature and the trusting nature of the people, the work ethic of the people, is second to none. And that's what we need to inculcate in the next generation of leaders is that passion to pass it forward, to live a life of consequence, to not self but others. And again, that's what we do at Ferrum College.
I see. For me, it was, I've always had a place in my heart for Ferrum, despite not going there. There's nothing like going up there on a crisp September, October day and going to a football game when you got the drums beating and you got the food cooking and off in the distance you can smell somebody grilling out. What we need to do is go up there and tailgate once this year at Ferrum, go to a game.
Because it's just down the road from me.
The backdrop is beautiful. You know what I mean? The backdrop is beautiful. There's just a lot of excitement in the air. I remember going to those places when I was a kid. That's where our dad would take us on a Saturday. And we don't have a lot. And, you don't you can't go up to Blacksburg or Charlottesville on a Saturday to watch a game. When you're 8 years old, it doesn't really matter. You go up there and them dudes are men for all you know, and they're out
That's
there
right.
beating the hell out of each other. It's a really fun experience. Even, if you're just a local person and want to do something for an afternoon, take your kid to a Ferrum
Absolutely.
College football game, take them to a baseball game. There's a lot of memories I have with that. And for me, I ended up leaving. I said, well, I just don't want to go to school here. I want to go somewhere else. And I chose Emory and Henry, which is essentially the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
if I would have just decided to go to Ferrum instead, I probably would have saved myself quite a bit of money. And I get the same, like, Emory was a beautiful school, but I had it in my mind I just wanted to get away. And then
Well,
I
that's-
eventually leave Emory and I go to Radford, and that's where I finished my education, but most of my credits didn't transfer, so it was a whole.
Again, another common story, and the common thread that we've already touched on, but the one that we haven't discussed is that the kids that come out of high school here, maybe they actually just want to go somewhere else to spread their wings away from their parents. But when you've got such an enormous campus,
And that's why I tell them
they
we're
can
a
go
city
home for the
unto
weekend.
ourselves.
But they're at home anyway.
And the parents don't come. They are in a city unto themselves.
Yep.
And they're surrounded by all of these students who eat with them, live with them, support them. I will tell you, this is my third presidency. I have never seen the level of support from the student body to the players. You can see at a football game, you can see softball players, lacrosse players, and field hockey players, and softball players, and baseball players. At a baseball game, you can see football players, and you can see field hockey, and you can see swimmers. I mean, this is beautiful because about 90% of our population lives on campus. And so when you eat together, when you're in the dorms together, when you are there to support your friend and they go out, and it is a beautiful thing. And those friendships that are made transcend time, transcend location. Some of the older alum, it's really neat because I call them the Ferrum Mafia. They move in swarms and they go out and they vacation. They leave their wives and they vacation together because of that bond that they created at Ferrum College. And that's what school should be like. It shouldn't be a number. It shouldn't be just going to class and being one of 300. It should be being one of one, having a direct rapport with that faculty. I'll tell you a quick story that I think much clearer accentuates our uniqueness. So I had been at the college maybe 2.5 months, and this young man comes up to me and says, Dr. Martin, I need your help. I said, fine. And he said, I've got to submit these 2 applications for a graduate program that I'm applying to, and I don't know to whom to give it to. And I looked at him and I said, but child, I've been here for 2.5 months. You already know me. You're bound to have, I'm sure that you have faculty here who know you. And he says, oh, no. You got it all wrong. Every single faculty here knows me, and they date back to my freshman time. That's the problem, that I don't want to insult those to whom I can give it to because I only have 2 to give. And I said to him, you don't understand how special that is. That's why Ferrum College is special, because that freshman English faculty kept up with that student throughout that 4 years so that they knew them. That sciences faculty freshman year kept up, and that sophomore year and junior year, and they became fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, mentors. They became part of their lives. And those recommendations are not, I recommend Billy to go into graduate school, is let me tell you the journey that Billy has taken to this point. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes our faculty second to none. That's what makes our staff irreplaceable. They give and they give and they give. And when they've given all they have, I come in and I said, and oh, by the way, I'm going to ask you to give some more because we're going to be on roller skates.
There you go.
And they give.
Here is where I think Ferrum has a golden opportunity here in the near future. And I was thinking about this earlier day coming down the road when I was trying to think about topics to talk about. And what are some things that you could possibly do to differentiate yourself from every other college out there? And I know we've talked about some of those things with the beauty and stuff.
I think you've done it very eloquently already.
Absolutely. But what is one thing that is almost guaranteed every single generation? What is the youth of that generation almost guaranteed to do every single time it rolls back around? What are the kids always guaranteed to do in conjunction with their parents? What are they always most of the time going to do? They're going to rebel, right? Most generations always rebel. Students, kids, they want to do the direct opposite thing their parents do because no matter how cool their parents think it is, it's lame to them. So what has the last generation of people become? What is our last generation of parents? Well, we're the AOL generation. We are the YouTube generation. We're the Twitter. We're the Facebook generation. We are the generation that has locked ourselves up mentally and almost physically at times to this world of a screen sitting in front of you where you do most of your engagement, most of your arguments.
Yep.
So what a kid's going to look at here in the future, go back, well, that's pretty lame. What I want to do, I want to get outside. I want to see the outdoors. I want to go to college somewhere where I can breathe, where I can kayak, where I can hike, where I can learn how to grow. Because nowadays it seems like that's going to be one of the most important things is learning how to self-sustain, local ability.
Yes.
Come in here, learn how to grow a plant, learn how to grow a potato, learn how to survive a little bit. But instead of being in this concrete jungle where my parents tell me I need to be at, where they think is cool, where they think Starbucks on the corner is cool, I think that's pretty lame. So Ferrum has that ability. You have ability to draw in those people who want to connect to nature.
Absolutely.
Those people who want to be able to go to the lakes on the weekend. They want to rebel against their parents, and now's the perfect time because we see that the culture is shifting, the culture is transitioning back to, I don't want to say a more conservative style, but a more decentralized community.
And on an outdoor, our Norton Outdoor Center provides just that. I mean, the courses, the back to nature, the going through the trails, the 800 acres worth of trails.
They still have the rope course up there?
Yeah.
I remember we going to that in high school.
And just being around the lake, I can tell you what it means. My office looks over the lake. And when they dumped that trout in, of course,
they gave you a good seat. Then
they did. Of course,
I'm very
very
pleased
good
for
seat.
you.
The only problem with that seat is that it is as hot as the dickens in the summer because all the sun just hits it, and there's no way to cool it.
I've got another job for your husband. Blinds in the office.
Yeah, no, because I want to be able to look out. That's the problem. I want to be able to look out. But it is the most beautiful sight when they dump those trout in that lake, to be able to see the little kids around it, to be able to see the students around it. And, for a period of 3-4 weeks, it's catch and release because they catch the fish, they name them, they kiss them, they measure them, they put them back in the water. And that's how they learn how to ensure that as they go out into the world to go into nature, to how they acclimate, how they grow, how they don't glow. But it's such a beautiful sight to see these kids with their fishing poles around, or to be playing disc golf, because they want to be outside, or to be going through the hundreds of miles of beautiful trails.
The prospect of, and I'm picking Virginia Tech, and it's unfair for me to do this. But it's
choose your words carefully because they may be your last.
I'm being very careful about how I say this. But I've seen the size of the campus. And to me, even in my elderly years, Billy,
when dinosaurs roamed the earth,
when dinosaurs were roaming the earth, the size of that campus, and this applies to all of the big campuses out there. So I'm not just picking on Tech, but Tech is the one that I've gone to a couple of times to see a game. It's overwhelming. I mean, it's to me, if I was going there as a student, I've got out of my parents' lair, and next thing I know, I'm on this campus that you need buses to get from one side to the other. To me, that's just overwhelming.
Well, and they're a phenomenal school. We are blessed here in the Commonwealth.
Absolutely. We've got some fantastic universities.
Schools. But it all depends about having that fit. And especially kids from rural areas who have grown up in small settings and protected, 9 times out of 10 get lost in the big campuses. And so I say to them, you need to set foot on campus. A whole lot of them have this idea of, I want to go to XYZ University because it's XYZ University. That's great. But then you walk in there and you feel like I'm nothing but a number. I feel like I am an ant in an ant mole. and as opposed to allowing your creativity yourself to be able to flourish. And so for me, when I received the phone call, and I tell this story because it really is important. When I received the phone call to come to Ferrum, I said, I knew of Ferrum. I've been here my adult life. My husband and I were married right after Duke, and we moved to Richmond because that's his home place. And so I've known of Ferrum College. I've known of the jewel that it is. But I needed to feel that this is where I was called to be. And so I said to John, we're going to make a little trip to Ferrum College. And I've been here before. And so we drove down, and the first thing I see as I'm coming off of 40, coming up, you see the steeple and you see the cross, and I felt, okay, that this is, I just was filled by this feeling of, this is beautiful. I'm being called to here. And then I made a right-hand turn into the college, and I looked over to my husband, and I didn't say anything. And he looked at me and he said, "You're home, aren't you?" I said, "Yes." As I go out into the community, I've gone and I've spoken at churches, and I've asked the churches, if you give me 5 minutes, I'll take it. If you give me 10 minutes, I'll take it. If you give me the sermon time, I'll take it. The same thing with high schools. If you give me 5 minutes time with your juniors and seniors, I'll take it. If you give me 10, 15 minutes, I'll take it. If I give me half an hour, I'll take it, because I believe in Ferrum College. I believe that it's a magical place. I believe that it provides an incredible education. And so when I am out into the churches and I'm allowed to preach, and they normally ask you, okay, so what scripture, what verse are you going to be preaching on? I always choose the book of Esther, chapter 4. And you may remember that Esther was an orphan in a strange land with no parents and almost no family, that she had little means and thought little of herself. And had it not been for her cousin Mordecai, who shepherded her, and had she not listened to God's words, she wouldn't have ascended to a position to become Queen Esther and save the Jewish people. And in that verse, it says that she was placed there by God for such a time as this. I believe that I've been called to Ferrum College for such a time as this. And I go even one step further. I believe that the individuals who are at college today, at Ferrum College today, are there at this time in their lives for such a time as this, so that we can pass it forward to the next generation, so that we can exemplify what it means to be not self but others, what it means to live a life of consequence, to go out into the world and be part of the humans.
Beautiful.
I kind of got to ask you, because I'd be remiss if I didn't, because I know, like I said, Ferrum is a huge part of the community, but how much dealings have you had with Justin Muse? I'm glad I got that response right there. I'm glad I got that response.
So that's
he's one of the people.
That is Mr. Ferrum himself.
When I think about Ferrum College, he's one of the names that pops up in my mind.
Absolutely. Well, so Justin was in the Office of Student Engagement. And so when I arrived at Ferrum, we really didn't have a recruitment and admissions office. So Ferrum has been transferred to the Office of Admission so that he can inspire people with his mouth why they should be at Ferrum College. So we were allowed to go into Franklin County High School during lunch time to tell the kids about Ferrum College. Regrettably, we didn't have very many to come to Ferrum College last year because they didn't know about us. We hadn't done that due diligence. And so guess who we sent out there?
Moose.
And boy, if he didn't make an impact. So yes, he is Mr. Ferrum himself. And it's individuals like him who exemplify who we are. He was born and raised in this county. He went to school in this county. He went to high school in this county. He went to Ferrum College, and then he went to work at Ferrum College. And he represents it, loves it. He talks about it. And that's the impact that the college has had on him. And now he's passing it forward to the next generation.
Good for him.
Yeah, I think he's a great ambassador to that
Yes.
school. I'm glad he's
Yes.
still a part of it up there, because he really does exemplify everything that you have, mentioned about everything that Ferrum is and what Ferrum embodies. He embodies all of those things. Like, I've known him since. I mean, we went to elementary school together up here at Lee Wade and Rocky Mount. Graduated high school together. Played football, and I've known he'd been at Ferrum for a long time. We saw him down at the Moonshine Heritage Festival.
Yes.
He was down there representing Ferrum College. He was down there, and he was doing his thing. Like, he's a really good dude.
And he's part of the community. He is, the 150th year anniversary that's going on. He's part of the community. He's part of the planning. And he's not unique. He certainly has the biggest mouth, and that's why people know about it, which is great. That's why he is in admissions, which is
perfect position
wonderful.
for him. Yeah.
But we have a lot of staff, we have a lot of faculty who have gone to Ferrum College, who actually, we've got people who left and came back.
So that speaks volumes as well.
Oh,
It really does.
I mean, we have coaches, the Black Hats. We've got a couple coaches. Well, all of them will come up and they say, I went to Ferrum College. And we've got one that left Ferrum. They went out and did their thing, retired, and then came back home to Ferrum College to give back to the college. That speaks volumes of that love, that drive of individuals who leave successful programs that they have created because and come to Ferrum College to build new programs, because now I've come in and I've said to the coaches, I expect excellence in the classroom and on the field. In the classroom, it means these students make the grade and they get the skills so that they can be successful leaders of the 21st century. On the field, it's really simple. We win. We win. And so we're transforming that culture. And these coaches are coming back and saying, okay, I want to be part of this. I need to be part of this. And they're leaving successful programs to go ahead and be that transformational leader that this school needs, that Ferrum College needs for such a time as this.
There we go. I'll send Georgia your way. Whether I can get Charlotte to go your way, I'm not sure.
Oh, just bring him to me. I'll go. I'll talk to them.
Right, there
Listen,
we go.
I just talked to Claire to come to Ferrum College. I just talked to Claire coming to Ferrum College.
I think you might have more in your hands.
A 4.5-year-old lad just coming to Ferrum College.
Say, watch out for Charlotte.
Ferrum does have a phenomenal alumni base as well. We've talked about this with Abe quite a bit,
incredible.
but we mentioned some of them up at the beginning of the show. You got head coach Hank Norton won some national titles here. Abe Nav coached some of the biggest baseball stars of our time period.
Absolutely.
Billy Wagner, Eric Owens, even some of the guys around here that made big impacts locally, like Kevin Anderson and Chad France. Yeah, you had Chris Warren, Justin Muse, even what was his name? Rick Tolley. He had ties to Ferrum. He was the head coach of Marshall University when the plane crashed. There was a lot of former Ferrum players were on that plane. James Johnson, he was the head basketball coach of Virginia Tech. I think before their recent coach kind of got the raw end of the deal. He was kind of thrown to the wolves, but no less, he's a Ferrum graduate and coached here at Ferrum, and now he's head coach of the ACC.
Look at Cleve Adams, who's our head football coach. He left, had successful programs. He's back as our head coach.
Oh yeah,
so it's that kind of love, it's that kind of loyalty, it's that kind of integrity back to the college that brings people back.
And I know right now, for this show, like I said, we've had Abel in here a couple of times, and we've got a lot of former Ferrum College baseball players right now that are frothing at the mouth. Their 30-year anniversary from that phenomenal team is coming up here this fall, and I know they're all hoping we can all make something happen so we can get these guys back. And do we have?
Well, Coach Knapp is helping us to bring the class of 93,
93,
93, and also 83.
Oh, 83. Okay, well, that's unbeknownst to us. We know that 93.
But 93 and 83, and he's helping me to get in touch with people because I want them back home. I don't want the celebrations out there. I want them right in the middle in Franklin County, at Ferrum College, at home. And we're going to do great things. We're also going to bring back we're actually going to bring back the class of 1965. I know it's early,
That's more like my era.
But we need to go ahead and honor them, begin to honor them, because regrettably we're losing many of them. And I want to make sure, so we have something planned for them, for that 50-year, 55-year, almost 60-year class. We're going to go ahead and sit them on the football field.
There you go.
So that they can
we will
remember.
spread the word. You've said
Spread
more.
the word.
You
Bring
said
'em
more
home.
than enough.
Do we
Bring
know what weekend that we're trying to get the 93 baseball team back together yet?
October 21st is our homecoming weekend, and we want everybody to be back home at Ferrum College on October 21st. That's that Saturday, the third Saturday of the month. Come on in on Friday night. We'll have whatever. We've got enough space we've got on campus so that all of these groups can come on campus and celebrate. And so we want our alumni to come back home. That's where they belong.
Well, I think I'm going to let them guys know because they've been wondering what weekend, and homecoming weekend makes a perfect weekend for them to get them back here. I think it's deep enough into the fall as well where a lot of them that are still involved in coaching baseball and stuff for fall ball will be able to make it back here. Yeah. Like I know Eric Owens, I've been back and forth with him. He's super excited about making this trip down from Canada, and Coach Naff, Kevin Anderson, a lot of these guys, they really want to get back here, and they really want to see the college succeed as well. So,
and Coach
what a
Naff
better
has
opportunity!
Been incredible. I mean, he has opened doors. He has reached out to alumni because I keep telling him the alumni need to be home. The alumni need to be home. This is home. The alumni need to be home. So the message here is, alumni, come back home. This is your home. This is where you belong. Come back home any day, anytime, every day, as far as I'm concerned. But especially on the third weekend in October, which is October 21st, which is homecoming weekend.
Let's make it happen.
Yes, and also let's keep on our schedule for the Ferrum Folklife Festival. Yes, I know my church is going to be set up there.
And that's the fourth weekend in October, which is October 26th. It's the following week.
So we're going to have a couple weekends in late October. We're going to be filled up with Ferrum College stuff.
Yes,
so.
Back
it's
to
so
back
easy
for
me to be there. I can just roll down the hill.
We'll have to find a way to make all this happen.
Back to back Ferrum College. That's what we'll call it.
I'll be there.
Back to back.
Dr. Martin, I know we're running up on our time here. We've kept you really, really long. And,
no, this is great. Thank you.
I really like to bring you back on again. Maybe not to talk about Ferrum quite as much, but I think you've got a fascinating story as well. And when you got here today, you talked about, you left Cuba at the age of 5 years old. I think there is a podcast in itself, for that story. So hopefully we can get you back again. But I mean, just for kind of a teaser for the next time, do you remember, you said 5 years old, do you remember anything about Cuba before you left? I mean, does anything resonate with you fairly?
Well, my sister was 5, I was 6.
Okay.
I remember my grandparents' house in Cuba. I remember leaving the island. I remember sitting as a kindergartner on the steps of the school because I did not want to wear the communist bandana.
And Good for you.
And I was young, and I remember sitting on the step of that school with a teacher trying to force me to wear the communist bandana. I remember that. I remember leaving the island and the atrocities of how the Cubans treated those who left. When I used to teach strategic management, that my PhD is in business strategy, I used to herald, regrettably, the Cuban strategy as one of the most brilliant, if not the most brilliant strategy of the 20th century, because the communists understood the values and the culture of its people and how to manipulate them. And for the Cuban people, whose background is Spanish, like mine, from my family's from the northern part of Spain, but faith and family are core values. And so they struck those values. And even at a time when it was the last time when we would have been together, because the communists chose who was going to leave the island and how they were going to leave it. And it was very, very, very strategic. Even in those last moments, they put us in what's called a fish. That's the translation. It's a fishbowl. And so those who were leaving were inside the fishbowl, and the family was on the other side. So even in the last minutes, we couldn't touch each other. My parents didn't know that they were ever going to see me again. My father never did. My
That's
father
the
died in
ghettos,
Cuba last
the
year.
ghettos of Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
That's exactly
You know?
what that was.
And so I remember my brothers. I mean, they were 3 and 2, and their heads against the glass.
Oh,
And I remember my parents trying to touch, and my grandmother trying to touch her husband. I remember that. The last memory that I have of Cuba was my father on top of there was a veranda, I guess, at the airport, and him moving his hands like that. That's the last memory I have. I have memories that I don't remember very candidly that sometimes come forward. There was a movie that came out sometime back that brought back some of those memories that I had put aside because I remember my grandmother having come to the United States. We had been separated 10 years. She had been separated from her husband 10 or 11 years. I remember the phone call that we got one morning when my grandfather died, and my mother was still in Cuba saying he's died. And I remember my grandmother just coming to pieces, and been a decade. And, you know, the story is a story of, it's not my story, it's the story of so many. It's the story of so many immigrants. A story that's still going today. I mean, those people that are escaping that communist Russia, many of them have similar stories where they shipped their children so that they could have freedom of religion, freedom to exercise their basic rights.
I hope folks realize how close Marxism is to communism.
Oh, yes. And absolutely. So it's, that is why, for me, an education has opened doors, and that's why I want to open doors for others. For me, it's very personal. It's not about a position or a title. It's about passing it forward. And the other thing is, for me, that's why I will always try to help and open doors to individuals like yourself, to veterans, for the men and women of the military, because were it not for your valor, were it not for your sacrifice and the sacrifice of your families, I wouldn't be living in a free democratic society, and my children wouldn't have the right and the privilege to live in a free democratic society. So for those who have come and gone, and for those who still serve, they have my utmost appreciation, admiration, and gratitude, and I will do anything for any one of them.
Bravo.
Yeah, I think that was a phenomenal teaser. Hopefully, maybe sometime this winter, after we have the the homecoming and the Folklife Festival or something, we can get you back in here and talk about how this fall semester's went, how everything's gone. And I'd love you to sit back down and maybe talk about more of stuff like that, because I think people, they need to be educated on things to that nature, because, we've and I'm, before we get on our little tangents here, I'm just going to make it quick, but, you see people marching in the streets today on TV in America that are waving that flag of communism, and they're supporting and they're screaming, to anybody that'll listen, that real communism has never been tried before. No, it's been tried many, many times.
Absolutely.
And for
it's failed every time.
Every time. And for the things that you and your family have went through to be able to get here and appreciate, like, there's so much.
And
so
the lives that have been lost to protect democracy, the lives that have been given, the families that have been torn apart, American families that have gone all over the world like you to protect our basic rights, to protect democracy. We cannot let that sacrifice go by the wayside. We cannot let America fail, because you know what? There's no other America. If this country were to succumb to socialism, to communism, its people could not escape to another country, because there's only one America. We have been, and we continue to be, the beacon of freedom, of hope for those who seek those values that those founding fathers gave to us, those fathers of the liberties that this country provides all of us. And it's only through the backs, through the sacrifice, through the valor of men and women in the military, men like you, who gave their life time away from their normal life to go fight, and men who went and didn't come back, and women who went and didn't come back, and the sacrifices of their families. Because I am sure that your mother, as I would have been, had their heart tied up every single day, praying that you would be returned home safe and sound. And many of those mothers didn't have those wishes come true to life. So for me, saying thank you to the men and women of the military today and past, and to the families of those who didn't come back, is paramount, because I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be living my American dream. My children wouldn't be living their American dream in a free democratic society were it not for those sacrifices. So to you, I say thank you, as I do to everyone who is listening to this podcast who has fought to preserve the rights of this country.
Well, I say thank you as well, and thank you for not only coming on this show, but for being an inspiration. You know, to be able to hear that story. And I know we only touched on it briefly, but I don't think people can appreciate the sacrifices. And people can't appreciate the struggles. And that goes for people that might not even wave that flag. Or that might just go for your normal, common, everyday person that lives 5 blocks away from here that just goes and does his work every single day. That he probably can't be able to appreciate the sacrifices and the struggles that people make to be able to come to what we have handed to us on a silver platter that is a birthright. You know what I mean? So we should continue to stand up for that birthright and stand up for people like Dr. Martin here and people that want to come here and make a better lives for themselves. And that's what we have to do, because we're on this planet, or whatever you want to call this, whether we're on a spinning ball or a flat disc, doesn't matter. That's a conversation somewhere. Wherever we're in this together, you know what I mean? Like, for good, for bad, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter what degree you may possess. All that matters at the end of the day is whether you're a good person and you're a passionate person or not.
And you appreciate the blessings of liberty.
Exactly. And I think you've stumbled across. So I would love to come back and touch base back again, maybe this fall, and do it again, and maybe have even a deeper conversation about this, because I want people to be educated on the matter. I want people to think, there's so many young people out there that think that free things just happen, and that's
sadly
just
they don't.
That's not how it is. There's a price to pay for everything.
That's
there is
rhetoric.
a price to pay for everything.
Absolutely.
Everything. That might be monetarily, it might be blood, sweat, and tears, that might be time, that might be relationships. Everything has a price. Nothing is handed to you. So, Dr. Martin,
thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for showing up here. Thank you for coming by. I think I'm excited about, getting these Ferrum College baseball players back down here and getting them honored.
Yes, I am as well.
Getting them on the show and promoting the college in another way as well. And I can't wait for the Ferrum Folk Life Festival this fall. I think Simon and I are going to maybe tag team that together this year. Who knows?
Yes.
Maybe we'll set up somewhere and just talk to people as they come by and do a podcast right there on the spot. But
Yes, that would be great.
I'd love to get the Blue Ridge Institute people on here
That would be
previous, preceding that, to talk about the festival and its 50 years and all the wonderful things that it's done. And
do a live broadcast there.
Absolutely. Why not?
Yes,
Why not?
We got to get people out here to enjoy that weekend of the Folk Life Festival. Again, that's October the 26th, weekend in October, as well as homecoming. Let's not forget, I want a shout out to all Ferrum alum. Come on back home. It's where you belong, and bring your families with you, because this
October is Ferrum
and
month.
It's looking like the homecoming weekend as well. If we can get all the baseball players back in here, we'll be doing a couple of different podcasts with those Ferrum baseball players that weekend too. So be on the lookout. We might be doing that at Buddy's, the Burger Company, perhaps Phillips' new joint when the hotel opens up.
We might be a sponsors.
We're gonna have some fun with that. So that's looking really good. And also, before we get out of here, don't want to go away without mentioning the Rocky Mountain Burger Company and Brian and all these stuff. We stopped by there on our way out of town on Friday night. Kind of felt weird having a 4-year-old and the infant at a bar at 10:30 at night or 10 o'clock at night getting dinner, but we wanted to wait till the little one got tired enough where he'd sleep all the way down the road. So we were in there.
That was a strategic move on your part.
Absolutely. Food was great again. Went in there and of course, the musicians let Claire go up there and kind of look at their instruments and speak with them. And she did her little performance as always. So, Rocky Mountain Burger Company, they're a big supporter of the show. So, where they're at, 467 Franklin Street, right across from the Harvester. And the Early Inn, go check them out. Remind them that we sent you down there. Let Brian know every time you walk in there. So
same with Buddy.
Absolutely.
Same,
so.
my buddy.
And Appalachian Podcast for our Patreon, patreon.com/getontap. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but $3 a month. Look, go on there. You can get top expert opinions from people like Simon on the submersible last week going to the Titanic. He had friends that were on the ship that probably sent down the submersible. He's got tons of experience diving and being out in the ocean. So it was a really good show. We also talked about we also try and talk about some local topics like the recent murder trial for the missing Heather Hodges from 10 years ago. Previous show before that, subscriber only, we talked about the recent deputy. So we like to talk about a few local things and a few national things. It's a little different from the show where it's just Simon and I every now and then a guest going back and forth and just talking about some news items. So you get that at patreon.com/getontap. Only $3 a month. Look, you're getting better than Franklin News Post.
And it's definitely unedited.
It's unedited, yes. Pardon the language and everything like that. But our subscribers also are going to get first dibs on some events coming up here in the future.
Yep.
Hopefully with Henry Law. Hopefully this deal with Ferrum College. We bring back Billy Wagner and Eric Owens. Hey, you might get an opportunity to get a ticket to come sit in and listen to those shows live in person, only for our subscribers. So once again, patreon.com/getontap. Venmo and Cash App is at Get On Tap if you want to do a one-time donation. Cindy Cundiff, huge fan. Still love Simon. It's Chris Montgomery's mother-in-law. She gave a one-time donation a couple weeks ago. Some other people have done it. Van Flora, new subscriber on Patreon. Speaking of which, our next episode.
Oh, no.
Our next episode.
Are we dare to go there?
We are going to try and do it one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, last year, the only show we've ever set up for and recorded that we did not release to the public because it was so much of an embarrassment was Caleb Flora. We are going to try once again. Our next show, we're going to come up hopefully this weekend. We're going to sit down with Caleb again and try and iron this thing out.
Well, there's going to be some sobriety prerequisites.
That's
sure.
the rules. The rules ahead of time is, Caleb, you are not allowed to touch any single substance until I hit record on this computer, and then we can start speaking. So that's going to be a great show because say what you want to, but about 80% of our shows have some crazy connection to Caleb. I don't understand it, but you get these big music promoters, these big music people, and all of them are, oh yeah, I mean, just it's weird. So for all that, for everybody that helps us out, for Simon, Dr. Martin, thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to this fall. I'm really looking forward to coming up there to campus for the Folk Life Festival, taking my kids again. We do that every year, but I'm more looking forward to being a bigger part of it this year.
Theater. We've added dinner and theater as well. So not, you've got the Folk Life Festival, you have the theater,
Such
you have the
culture
music.
at Ferrum.
You've got.
I love it.
It's just come on down.
Let's get this. Daughter loves the theater. We'll try and make it to the next one they got up there. Absolutely, and it's right here down the road. So hopefully, moving forward here in the next little bit, we're gonna be able to be a big part of some of the cool things happening at Ferrum, and we really look forward to that because Ferrum thriving helps us around here. And you know how we are about local and shopping local and supporting local. So
play local, listen local music, our Appalachian
everything.
Orchestra. It's just the music. I mean, come on down.
We've got so much to offer.
There's nothing that you are not going to find.
We won't be disappointed.
You will not be disappointed. That I guarantee.
Right on.
So come on down.
You'll be seeing Georgia soon.
That'll be great. So and that way I can say welcome home.
There you go. Love it.
Thank you.
Till the next time, thank y'all so very much for your time.
God bless
and we'll see
you.
Thank you. I've got to just mentally prepare myself for Caleb. Oh dear.
And hopefully the next show we'll have a chance. Well, actually, Caleb will be pre the 4th of July party. So whatever show we have after that, we'll be able to discuss the 4th of July party as well. So looking forward to all of that. And once again, just thank y'all so much for your time.
Thank you all. God bless. Take care.
Lovely to meet you.
Likewise.